Hello and welcome back to Real Estate Made Simple. I'm your host, Rick Bosley, the team leader and owner of the Bosley Team Real Estate Solutions and 3L Coaching and Training, inspired by Keller Williams University and all of the great curriculum courses. We've been digging deep into lead generation 36-12-3. If this is your first episode, you're going, it's a lot of numbers. But this is 36 closed transactions in 12 months with 3 hours of focused, disciplined lead generation a day. And we're breaking down each way that you can do it, from setting up your mindset to your value proposition to understanding prospecting to marketing to using technology. And now we're going to go into specific sources today. This is going to be about the systems around your database. Thanks for being here. Stay tuned. Welcome back again. My name is Rick Bosley, and I am going to be your host today, talking to you about lead generation 36-12-3, specifically around your database. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share this with a friend. We do drop new episodes every Thursday, and you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram and all the different social media platforms that we just flood your information with little snippets and tidbits. Of course, we're just trying to make our splash in the giant pool of content that's created every day. So here we are. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. For Power Session Lead Generation 36-12-3 on the database, it's going to be about building your database, feeding it every day, communicating it in a systematic way, servicing all leads. That's what we're going to talk about. Those are the 4 laws of leadership. We talked about them in a little bit last week episodes with technology, where we had Donnie Brookman, of how command was built to service those 4 laws. And now we're going to talk about how you need to think about those 4 laws. And I want you to think about the power of a database. Everything is our database. Our business is our database. And the size and quality of our business is a direct correlation to the size and quality of our database. Here's the truth. The heart of your business is the database. The heartbeat is the regular contact. You can have a heart, but if it doesn't have a heartbeat, there's no blood flowing through it. And if you don't have contact with your database, I don't care how big it is, there's no life to it. So we're going to talk about what does that regular contact look like, so you can pump some life, pump some blood, pump some oxygen throughout your business and let your database be the lifeline of your business. So here's how we break this off. When you think about small business owners, and I'm talking to everybody right now, because I don't care what you do, right? This is a real estate focused course, and yes, I'm talking to realtors, and I'm a realtor, yet I hope you're listening to this if you're not. Because doctors have databases, lawyers have databases, landscapers have databases, roofers have databases. Everyone has a database. These are our customers, past, present, and future. We can rank them differently. We can tag them differently. We can appropriately service them and talk to them and communicate them based on who they are. And data is the root word of database. So the more data we have, the more we can accurately, specifically add value to our database. So when a doctor or when a doctor or a lawyer sells their practice, they're really not selling a business. They're selling their patients. They're selling their clients. They're selling their customers, right? And sometimes realtors have wondered, how do they sell a business? Well, you're not selling a business because you are the product. And so if I want to buy your business, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor, then you're the product. I need you to work it, or we need to work on transitioning the trust from your database, from you to our team, and then we can convey that. Really, the value is in the database there. Some database tools, if you think about the evolution of a database, go back to the our grandparents and great-grandparents, and they have the black box, the Rolodex. We don't even have to go that far. I'll just say, I'm 40 right now. In middle school, in high school, right? We didn't have computers. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have cell phones. It was a black box. It was a black book. It was a Rolodex. It was, what's the address? And you just add them to that list. And that was a database. Then we evolved. And then, spreadsheets came about. And then electronic spreadsheets. You can do 3-ring binders. And you just have tag sheets of your database. Then we get phones. And our phone is a database. We just collect information, and we can keep records and keep data and keep descriptions and sources and pictures and tags. And our phone's a database. All of the social media, that's a database. Your CRM, that's a database. Client Relationship Manager, whether you use Command or another one, or Follow-Up Boss or Conversion or whatever else it might be. Chime is out there, right? What's the best database? And here's the answer. It's the one you use. It's the one you use. I've coached a lot of agents, and they just, had a challenge, a mindset, a block over using technology and using the CRM that was provided for them. Therefore, they were neglecting their database. They had the heart that wasn't pumping, and without pumping, there's no oxygen, there's no blood, there's no life. So we said, well, stop logging in. Forget about it. Let's go choose your top 50 clients. Let's go put them in a 3-ring binder. One of the best tools and exercises. If you're having a hard time with this, I've got some young kids. They are how old are they? 4, 6, and 7 years old right now. And if they wanted to help me build something out in the garage, I'm not going to give them the power saw or the power tool. I'm going to give them the screwdriver, and they're going to learn how to use it with a screwdriver first and understand the mechanics of it. And then as they start mastering the screwdriver and the hand tools, then they can develop and earn the right to get the power tools. If you give a little child a power tool right off the bat, it's dangerous, it's reckless, it's not going to be done well, they're going to make more mistakes. So maybe you need to start with a hand tool. Maybe you need to start with a 3x5 Rolodex box. Maybe you need to start with a 3-ring binder or an Excel spreadsheet. And if that's you, hey, that's okay. Right? That's okay that technology is a tool when we can use it, but if we don't use it because it actually paralyzes us or cripples us, then scale it back to something that you can use. So the best database tool that you can use or that you should use is the one that you will use. So don't feel like you have to just jump on board with TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all these different services, because if that's not you, then don't do it. You've got to go figure out you. Now, if it's a goal, then let's go put in a growth plan around it. Let's go put in some training, some books, some shadowing, some mentorship. Maybe leverage it out. Maybe hire someone else who already knows how to do that. So you still never have to do it. Let someone else do it, because now you've got efficiency through that, and now you're getting your ROI. We'll talk about hiring and training in a future episode. So we're going to break down these 4 laws of a database, and that's going to be build it, feed it, communicate with it, and service all leads that come your way. When we think about building a database, building is not just the business of servicing clients. It's the business of finding clients to service, right? So we've got to find them. We've got to service them. Keller Williams has recently done a study because we have data and they own command. And now we have data of command. I think something that's very important as well as a disclaimer and disclosure. Keller Williams, it's a pledge, right? And I'm sure it's in the cloud, but they believe that every agent owns their database. So as agents come in, the database is imported. As agents leave, the database is exported. It doesn't stay there. In fact, and I can speak truth to this as a leadership, an investor, and former team leader. When an agent would leave and their command of the technology gets shut down, I no longer had access to anything that they have. And even as leadership, I can pull up an agent and I can see they have 500 names in there. I can't click who those names are. So I think it's important as you're partnering and looking for different database companies, how private is the information? Are they taking your stuff? Are they selling it? Collecting data for analytics is one thing. Collecting information and using it to sell or promote is another. So little disclaimer there that Keller Williams does not do any of that. They do have data though. And the data shows that if an agent has at least 201 contacts in their database, and when we say contacts, we're going to ask for at least 4 points of contact. That's name, phone number, email, and mailing address. Again, the 4 contacts we want: name, phone number, email, and mailing address, preferably home address or PO box, right? So we can send them information in the mail. And they found that if you have at least 201 there, then you're averaging at least $111,000 in gross commission income. It's not a bad gig. And so you can just put the correlation that says, I've got to go grow my database, because in the quantity, you'll find the quality. In the quantity, you find the quality. Therefore, we're going to grow and focus on building up the database. So how do we build a database? New agents come in, they're brand new to this city, and they're not sure how to go do it. And I've got to answer with something that's it's not condescending, it's just blunt. They're everywhere. They're truly everywhere. And if it's your focus and if it's your intent, you can go find it. Whether you want to just be the person that knocks on doors, go knock on doors. You could go get intentional and do networking groups. What I like about when I was new to real estate and joining networking groups, and I'd go with some of my colleagues and we'd go to what's called Red Carpet Mondays. Well, that was there with a stack of 20, 30, 40, 50 business cards. And I wouldn't leave until I exchanged and traded, almost like I'm a child with my trading cards. And it's like, hey, let's go trade business cards. And I'll do a shout out right here that one of my long-standing allied partner relationships, Urban Young Insurance, was found through Red Carpet Mondays through exchanging a business card. Now, I could have taken that business card, taken it home, and just done nothing with it and said, okay, I exchanged information, but I really wasn't then building a database. I was just having conversations, exchanging information. It became a follow-up system that built a relationship. And that was 13 years ago, 12 years ago. And they are still a number one preferred vendor for insurance clients. We've got our houses, our boats, boat singular, policies, cars underneath them. So they have everything. And it's been great. And it started with a networking, intentional building the database. So here's the thing. If you say, I don't know anybody, then get to know people. You're in a contact sport. If you're in sales, you have to talk to people. Go out there and build it. Be intentional with capturing information, connecting, building that relationship, and be that connector. Then when we have our database, we can actually categorize them, not categorize, maybe prioritize of terms of value. And there's a law called Pareto's principle, and that's the 80-20 principle. And that's the 20% of our activities yield us 80% of our results. 20% of the population owns 80% of the wealth. Well, guess what? 20% of your database accounts for 80% of your business and your referrals. So if that's true and we have 200 people, then I would argue that says 40 of them are more valuable than the next 160. Do you know who those 40 are? That's your 80-20 principle. We need to make sure that those 40 become our VIP clients. And then if we do that again, we go even more extreme and we say, I bet 8 of those 40 have more impact than the other 32. And then I bet 1 or 2 of those 8 have the greatest impact. Have you broken down? And that's going to be your first assignment I want you to do, is look at your database and see if you can rank them. Now, whether you want to put tier 1, 2, 3, 4, or A, B, C, D, or bronze, silver, gold, platinum, however you want to do it, decipher what it is. And a great way to think about it, it says, if I were to ask you to bring 2 people, that's all you could do your entire business from, who are the 2 most influential people who like, value, and trust you and refer you and are your raving fan? Who would you choose? And that's the only people you can market to. Why did you choose them? Is it because you believe they will? Is it because they like all of your stuff on social media? Or is it through action? You see, when we think about what the cost is to be our database, is through action, right? That's what it costs. For you to be in my database, welcome. Everyone's welcome. It's like church. You ever go to a church? They don't charge you admission at the door. They're going to ask for it. They're going to ask you to be a member if you keep going. And if your heart leads to serve and join and give, then great. But it's never a requirement. Yet there's going to be action that's going to be done to be able to move it. So to get in my database, hi, welcome, opt in. Thank you, you're in my database. To get the next tier, maybe some client appreciation events or some pop-bys or some gifts, or to be top of mind, that's going to be through action. And that's the currency I believe that we should do it. So when we look at that, how are we measuring our currency? Well, sometimes you'll see that the cliche, it's not cliche, it's true. The greatest gift I can receive is a referral, right? And I say it in that voice like that, but it's really true. Because if you receive a referral, that means they trust that they're putting their name and their reputation on the line for you doing a great job. Sometimes that's more impactful than them using themselves, because they feel confident enough to refer you to a trusted friend. Their name's on the line as well. They're attached to it. So a referral is, to me, the greatest indication of someone who is a trusted, loyal, raving fan. Then did they use you? Then are they engaged? Then are they showing up? Then are they responding? And we can actually grade some points. So I want you to think about that as you look at your database. Who are my core advocates? Who are my allied resources? Who am I connected with? Who am I targeting? Who's my network? Right? Acquaintances to friends to groomsmen to best men. You guys have done this before. Think about it in that way. Enough with how to categorize that. We've got that area there. Let's think about a wedding, right? Best man, groomsmen, friends, acquaintances. Like, they get the invite because they are the distant cousin. It would be weird if you didn't invite them, but you really haven't talked to them in 2 or 3 years. And that's okay. We can reestablish that connection, but they're kind of in the outer circle, right? their table assignments furthest away from the DJ and furthest away from the band. We've all been at those tables. It's okay. And then you have even further of going, this is a +1. I don't even know who you are, but you're at my wedding. This is the first time we've met, but it's because you know someone who brought you. So kind of a referral, right? We've done this and we've tiered and we've labeled our relationships before. And now I'm just asking you to do it in your business. And it's not a science. You don't have a point system. You didn't, maybe some of you did, but you didn't look at all of your friends and score them and rank them and grade them and based on how many comments they gave you on Facebook and say who's going to be my groomsman based on. It's just kind of a feeling that you know. So don't overthink this yet. I am going to ask you to be super purposeful, intentional with grading it, because now we can cater our delivery. We've given an example in the past of the postcard of time to clean your gutters, right? And that's what everybody gets. And then we can break that down to here's a coupon, and then here's a personal phone call, and then here I'm going to pay for someone to come clean your gutters because you're my groomsman, you're my ride or die, right? So that's how we can break this up. In Ignite, which is, we say it's the introductory course, but really it's the ongoing course. We've heard the phrase get back to basics. Ignite isn't something you get back to, it's something you keep. And so at Ignite, they have the daily success systems, which is, they used to call it the daily 10-4, but really we're looking at 10 new contacts a day, 10 conversations to engage in real estate, 10 handwritten notes, and previewing at least 10 homes a week. And if you can keep that habit going, that might take you 3 hours a day. If you can keep that habit going, then I bet you're going to have a pretty strong business, because in 200 working days, you'll have 2,000 people in your database. So maybe just stick with the basics and go add 10 people every day. When we think about our sources of how we can build this, where we can look, well, you've got your family, your friends, your neighbors, right? You've got your who's already connected, who's been to your home before, who's the acquaintances, who's the school, the teachers, the PTA, the staff. Who do you do business with? Who are you? Whose database are you in? Who are you a raving fan of? If they were to categorize it, are you somebody's groomsman or best man or maid of honor, right? And if so, then let's reciprocate that relationship. Who do you know from sports or hobbies or the gym? Who did you used to work with? Former coworkers, former employees? What organizations are you a part of or passionate about? When we think about it, I would dare you to not have 10 interactions with people every day. All I'm going to ask you to do is get intentional when you do it to make sure that you can reestablish your relationship as a realtor and then as their realtor. So that's going to be building it. Now we've got to feed it. And if we feed it, again, reminder of that daily 10-4, focus on 10. Or maybe for you it's 5, or maybe for you it's 20, depending on where you're at. And I will say this, if your database is large enough, and we have 5,200 people in our database, I'm probably not in a building growth mode. Building happens organically. Every time we get a listing and open houses are done and we're knocking on doors and we host an event and we post ads, we are attracting new people into our ecosystem, into our database. So we're not in the hunting to build it because we have things that are happening that are attracting it. Yet if your database is not at least 201 people, or I would say 300 is where a single agent can really work, then we probably have more growth to do. Now I just said 2 and 300, and as I said it, I want to break down the Pareto's principle again. Because we really want 300 people in our database. That's who we're working. If 80-20 principle comes in, and that's our top 20%, which means we need 1,500 in our database, our CRM, our Excel spreadsheet, to then have the choices to choose those top 300. And that's who are really going to work, that can thrive that business. So maybe your goal, if you want to close 36 transactions, is closer to 1,500 to 2,000 names in the database. So you can work 300 to 350. They don't have to be local. If you're a transplant from another city, that city can be a great referral source, a connection. Getting an outside referral is some of the best dollar per hour you can get as a realtor. You can get paid a referral fee. So if you've got a network out there, just get used to building the habit of having those real estate conversations. When we get our database, again, reminder, 4 points of contacts: name, number, email, home address. That's the minimum. What else could you get that would give you more data? Their wedding anniversary, their birthday, do they have kids, what's their school alumni, what's their favorite restaurants, right? The more data we have, the more you can be purposeful with them. When you have conversations with them, and I'm big with this, and you look at the notes right here that says use the forward conversation. And if you've been doing sales long enough, you've heard the forward conversation. It's kind of a dialogue framework, which is talk about their family, their occupation, their recreation, their dreams. I think that's great to get data, to understand about those things. You want to know what someone does for a living so you can support them or use them or refer them when you can, or have that advice. You want to be that connector. But what I want to caution you is don't take that framework into every single one of your conversations, because you're their realtor. And I think it's great to start with those things and make sure you're touching on them. But let's make sure when you're talking to them, you're talking to them as your realtor as well. I've got a good friend. He's my financial advisor. I've known him. We went to college together before we were both professionals. And so this guy and I go way back 20 years. And if he calls me on a Tuesday afternoon, I'm assuming he's talking to me about finances because he's my financial advisor. If he calls me on a Friday night, I'm assuming he's talking to me about March Madness, right? Or UCF. So there's a time and place. If you're doing your calls and it's a Wednesday morning at 9:30 a.m., be their realtor. It's who you are. It's what your relationship is. Talking about real estate, talking about their goals. It doesn't mean you can't have the framework of Ford, family, occupation, recreation, dreams, but don't hang up the phone without mentioning that you are a realtor and you're curious about what are their real estate related needs, how can you service them, how can you connect them. So just a reminder there, don't just be the agent who almost, you're calling and just checking in. Don't be the agent that just checks in. Have a point, have a purpose. Be their realtor or home inspector or insurance agent or loan officer or whatever you do, go be that person. Now, if you called up all the time, you went straight to it, ring, ring. Hey, this is Rick. I'm your realtor. Who do you know who wants to buy, sell, or invest? Of course, that's a bad phone call because you still need to have that relationship. But make sure you don't have all personal, no business. It's got to be a good mix. Okay? Very good. Now we're going to communicate it with it systematically. And we've touched on this a little bit with the conveyor belt. So I'm going to breeze through these pretty fast. But what do you think about this? We have a new contact. New contact comes in. This is my prescribed way that we've endorsed and subscribed to. I didn't create this. I've just taken it from other aspects. So we're going to share with you our way. First thing, if you come in and I've never talked to you, we put you on a 10-day in a row intensity, frequency. Hello, we want to talk to you. We call it the 10 days of value. If you want to go 8 days or 12 days or 22 days, you figure out what works for you. How do you want to systematically communicate? You figure that out. But know what the point of this is high intensity, high frequency, and the goal of when this has been a mission accomplished is when you've spoken to them. We had this yesterday. We have some automation happening. It was an online inquiry. We gave some calls, some texts, some emails, and then we have the system doing some automated text. And yesterday, the system created a response. Hey, thanks for the text. And they replied back. Bam. It's done its job. 10 days of value. I stopped it at that point and I moved you to the next phase. It did its job. Mission accomplished. We heard in communication. Now that we're in communication, the next phase is the 8x8. And that's 8 touches over 8 weeks. Again, if you want to do 6 touches over 6 weeks or 10 over 10 or 8x6 or whatever you want to do, we're going to lessen the frequency, lessen the intensity, but still going to be consistent enough because you're going to cement that relationship. Have you ever met somebody once and 3 months later you meet them again and you forgot you met them the first time? That happens. And so we're going to cement that relationship and offer items of value. Now, what can you do in this 8x8? It depends on who they are. Make sure that at least half of your contacts are personalized, outgoing prospecting, phone calls or text or social media interaction. That it's a one-on-one relational conversation. And then the other half can be marketing, emails, touches. All right, don't just hide behind and let emails do the heavy lifting because you're not creating influence at that. We want to make sure we do have the influence. So the 8x8 is to cement the relationship so that we can be their realtor. How do we know if that mission is accomplished? Well, we've either gone through it, but now they're engaged. We're saving their phone. They're picking up our phone. They recognize us. We've booked the appointment. They've received the referral. They showed up to the event. We feel like they are now in our inner circle. They're in our database. right? And when we think about our database, yes, they're in our database. I'm going to say the top 20% of the database, and they're plugged in and engaged. And once we have cemented that relationship of client realtor, then we do what's called the 36 to convert, or the 33 touch if you're reading The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Now again, 33, 36, they're just numbers. They're just numbers, and the point of this campaign or this systematic way to communicate is going to be to maintain that relationship. So a little bit less frequent, a little bit less intense, and we're just going to add value over time. We know things like their birthday, their alma mater, their favorite restaurant, their holidays, their occupation. If they're a nurse, celebrate them for Nurses Week. If they're a veteran, happy Veterans Day calls. Father's Day, Mother's Day, dog owners, pet owners, whatever it might be, you have data, you're maintaining that, and you're strengthening that relationship over time. Systematically communicating with it. They stay there forever until they unsubscribe. By the way, if anybody unsubscribes, be courteous, right? Let's be courteous and let's go, no problem, you're out. It doesn't mean you can't say, can we lessen it? Can we lessen your frequency? Didn't mean to offend you. How could we be of value of service? So it doesn't mean you can't go, I'm sorry, won't happen again, and how can we do this? Also, we want to make sure that we are compliant with all of the spam and the do not call list. So if somebody didn't opt in, don't just start buying someone's database and going through there. There's a lot of service that you can go out there and just download people's data. It's very dangerous, and it's a risk you're taking. I do not endorse it. Keller Williams does not endorse it. So make sure it's an opt-in, subscription-based, organically built database that you're doing as well. So there we go. 10 days of value, 8x8, 33 touch. That's going to be how we massage and how we build these relationships. And you've got a decision. If the 8x8 is going on and they've just been crickets for 8 weeks and they actually never enter to your inner circle, keep them in the database and just systematically drip on them over time. Don't delete them, because we have automation that can happen. And maybe they'll resurrect, maybe not the right time, not the right place. It might not ever happen. But again, the quality is in the quantity, and we can't control their time. All right, so there's the 3 ways that we take from an agent or a client from coming into to creating established conversation, to cementing the relationship, to maintaining the relationship. And what do all 3 of these things have in common? And that's overkill over time. Now, overkill seems a little bit intense for a lot of people, and they don't want to overkill because they don't want to be that nuisance or that pest. And I'll be honest with you, the only time that you're going to annoy your clients and customers by communicating is if you're actually not offering any value. So if they're not picking up the phone, offer more value. If you feel like you're annoying, you probably are. If you feel like you're a pest, then stop being a pest and be useful and be needed and get creative and just get to know them and understand what their goals are and connect with them at a deeper level. Because no matter how frequent and systematic lead generations emphasize, most agents, most professionals, most business owners still underdo it. And your goal is like Survivor, to outlast, outwit, outplay, right? You've got to outtouch your competitors because you're competing for mind share. When you have mind share, then you have market share. So we've got our contact management system. It's a myth that I hear some people say is, I don't have enough leads or I don't have enough business, so I'm not going to worry about building these systems yet because I'm going to keep everything right here in the old noggin. Hey, good for you. You could manage 15 people and probably forget about 3 of them. There's an old Chinese proverb, or it might be, I don't know what kind of proverb it is, but the faintest of pens is better than the strongest of memories. Right? That's a good one, right? The faintest of pens is better than the strongest memory. So if you're small, then start the system so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Put them in the system, put them in the CRM, put the touches on there, or the smart plans, or the campaigns, or whatever to-do list or checklist, whatever works for you to make sure that people are systematically communicating with. Do it from day one so you don't have to reinvent the wheel later. When people opt out, we're not going to delete them. We're just going to not keep them as engaged and let them get more of that automated stuff. And maybe once a year, you just touch base and resurrect and see if they want to get back into it. When you want to service all leads that come away, this is collecting data. We want to funnel where do they come from, assign them to the appropriate person for following up, source where they came from so we can track our ROI and our time and our money. And then we can be able to appropriately build on that business. So assigning leads Did it come from a farm? Who's going to be working on the team? Who's the other agent? Is it a referral agent? Do they have a spouse? Are they an investor or not an investor? Do they want to be an investor? Are they a homeowner right now? Or, again, are they a pet owner? Are they a sphere of influence? Are they a past client? I'm just listing a number of assigned what we call tags. And I think about tags in a database like I think about kitchen cabinets or kitchen cupboards. You have a silverware drawer. All of your silverware goes in one drawer. And then inside the drawer, you have a silverware tray. And then you have spoons go in this section, but not just any spoon. It has to be the teaspoons and the tablespoons. And then you have the butter knives and the steak knives and the dinner forks and the salad forks. But it's just a silverware drawer. Then you have your cups. But over here on this shelf, you've got your coffee cups. And over here, you've got your turbises. And over here, you've got your plastics. And over here, you've got your glass. And then you've got your wine up top. Maybe it's for us, it's wine on the bottom, right? But it's a cupboard. And that's the old name of the cupboard. And you get your plates. And this is kind of how I see a database. In a database, you're going to have everybody in there, and you're going to source it under open house. And then the open house might be specifically which open house or which year or which time frame. And then you're going to have, vendors. And then the vendors are going to be what type of vendor? Is this an HVAC? Is this a carpet cleaner? Is this a floor person? Is this a carpenter? Who are they? And that's going to be subcategorizing it down. Then the random, we'll call it bottle opener or meat thermometer or these things that don't have enough like items as they do, you put them in the junk drawer. And the junk drawer is a hodgepodge of useful things, and it's probably the most useful and open drawer that we have in our kitchen because it's a plethora of things that are important enough to keep, to have quick access to. And so maybe those really VIPs, they have their own tags because they're going to reach out to them and have that. So think about organize your kitchen like you organize your database or vice versa. If you've got a database somewhere in another CRM or your phone, it's just one giant junk drawer. Can you imagine if you just opened the cupboard and you threw everything in and threw all of your silverware everywhere and there was no rhyme or reason? It would be a hot mess. So maybe as you reorganize this database, your goal and your assignment is to appropriately tag it and organize it and then keep it organized. And if you're like our household that's very crazy and chaotic, then I feel like once a month or at least once a quarter, we have to reorganize and make sure it's clean if we want a well-functioning categorized kitchen. So there we go. When we source leads, there's about 13 main sources. I don't know why I said 13. It could be 10. It could be 12. I don't have the number right in front of me, but the sources are going to be how did we get the business? When I ask and talk to a lot of agents and I hear what's the source, how did you get that? I'll hear things like door knocking. Well, door knocking is not a source. That's an activity. And don't confuse activities with sources. Sources are what's the reason for the activity. I'm going to go door knocking. Great. What's the reason? I'm going to door knock around a listing, and the listing's the source. I'm going to door knock because it's my farm, and the farm is the source. I'm going to door knock because I just got I'm doing an open house to another agent. Then the open house is the source. I'm going to door knock to give my VIP clients a St. Patrick's Day good luck basket. Then the sphere of influence is the source. So we're seeing how the activity is attached to the source, and it's the reason for the touch. It's the reason for the call, for the door knock, for the email, for the text. And the same message with different methods around a specific source. And we can just vision these layers coming through here. So we're going to tag them so we know the source, we know the activity, we know their specific data points so we can add value when we do talk to them. We're going to be able to track it so we know what the conversion is. If you've been doing something every Friday and every open house and you keep doing open houses but not a single appointment's come from it, then maybe you need to red light, green light that. Actually, don't red light open houses. They work. They're effective. So in a future episode, you're going to hear how we can maximize and book an appointment from every open house. So there's a teaser. Yet you've got to find out what works for you. And maybe open houses just aren't your thing and you're better at something else, then you've got to figure out what works for you, right? So that's where you're going to red light, green light, track it, track your follow-up, track your efficiency so you don't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So this has been an episode around database, and I would argue that this is the most important thing because everything we do in business is about building or converting our database. You have 4 laws. Build it, feed it, communicate with it, and service it. Build it, feed it, communicate it, service it. BFS. Service it. S again. Yeah, there you go. Systematically communicate with it. I tried to go for an acronym there, but we're not going to do an acronym. So here's our final thoughts for you. How's your database? How's your organization of your database? Are you focused on building your database? And when you build it, are you focused on converting it and nurturing those conversations and nurturing those clients? Because our business is our database. It is the heart, and the heartbeat is your 3 hours a day of marketing and prospecting towards it. And everything we do is about top grading that database. Thanks for joining me today. I trust you found some value. If you have any questions, please drop it in the comments or write me an email or drop me a text. Let me know how I can help you. And if you want some more hands-on approach, we do have some private or some group coaching and training. I'd love to be that resource for you as well. And of course, if we can service anything for you guys in terms of real estate in Central Florida area or through our network worldwide, let us know that as well. I'm Rick Bosley, making real estate simple. Have a great day.